Again, I'm introing you. You're Nate. You're here today. I'm
actually
here.
T.
Oh, no, that's not true. You're
Okay,
lying.
sorry, I'm trying to fool everyone.
Hey, we have to redo this video because something happened. I have no idea what it was. And we actually made a video about the top 5 gadgets.
And no one watched it, actually.
In Marvel Spider-Man. Well, no one watched it because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know.
It literally died. I don't know how that happened, but it just got corrupted somehow. The audio file was like... It sounded like the radio from PT. So I don't know. Anyway, here we are again, trying our best. We're going to run through the list, I guess, as quickly as we can, kind of, like, while being succinct on it, because the first draft was too long anyway.
Yeah.
So the first one we have is actually the impact web in this game.
So these are the best gadgets.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're all good.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I don't even think there's going to be a 5 worst gadgets. There's not even another 5, really, I don't think, total. And frankly, they're all good. So
yeah, that was actually something that we both liked about this game.
Yeah.
They did a very good job with the gadgetry.
They definitely did. It's interesting. Some things are a little overpowered, which I think
we're going to get into.
And they'll be worked out in the sequel. But the impact web is not one of them. The impact web obviously really just throws back smaller enemies when you hit them, usually shoving them into a wall or into another enemy. And with big guys, it slows them down. You hit them with a couple of them, it pretty much freezes them in place where you can actually hit them or throw them with webbing. It does a lot of good while you're either doing stealth or combat.
Well, yeah, it's just good to get people away from you.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really fun gadget to use. Like, you can just, like, shoot someone, they launch into the wall, and then they actually stick to the wall.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
I know, and one thing I like about this impact web is actually it goes back more towards the Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 game version of impact web, because a lot of the times before that, impact webbing was used as a projectile to damage enemies. That's sort of where you started to see in games, at least to the best of my memory, from the earlier Spider-Man games I played. That's where you started to see it be an incapacitator to actually trap enemies, where it would hit them and they'd be all tied up. This actually takes that a step further, chucks them like way back. It's almost like playing bowling with them sometimes, because you'll send one back into like another 5 or 6. There's not much to say other than it's fun, it's useful, and it definitely belongs on the list. So the second one we have is the Tripmine. I honestly might have the most fun with this gadget, in terms of just like, oh, this is fun for me to use, but it's also very useful.
Yeah, it's useful for both combat and also the sneaking around. I was going to say Predator, but...
No, I mean, it is Predator.
So yeah, basically you shoot it, it sticks to a wall or surface or even a person.
Yep.
And basically it's a trip mine. Once they walk in front of it, it snares out a web, catches them, pulls them back in.
Yeah, it's within a certain range of a laser that obviously shoots out of the trip mine. When it hits an enemy, basically what will happen is one of two things. Either... Well, they always feel it. So they feel it, and they'll kind of look to where they felt it come from. So when you hit an enemy with this, you do want to back off a little bit. But it will either be that when they turn, they will turn towards a wall or like turn past a wall, and it will then pull them into the wall and tie them up. Or they will turn towards another enemy, and it'll pull the two together and slam them together and take them both out. I mean, this has a lot of utility because of that. And even in combat, this can be very useful. I mean, you hit like one of those bigger guys with it, it only slows them down for a second or two, but it does give you room to actually like have leeway to switch into other gadgets or take out a few other guys. It'll also pull those enemies towards each other or throw a small guy at a big guy, which damages
and it'll take
both.
Down the small guy.
Yeah, and damage the big guy at the same time, which they are a little harder to deal with in this game. I mean, they're probably one of the more annoying things that you have to deal with as Spider-Man.
Yeah, next to the flying Sable soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
With those rocket launchers.
If you don't like Sable soldiers, wait until you get
really
to the
like
DLC. So, yeah, I don't know. There's not much we dislike about it. I have a lot of fun just going around kind of chucking these out in every setting. And Insomniac outdid themselves on the fun level of that. This one is yours. I want to let you take this one. You have a passion for this.
I do have a passion for this one. So yeah, this one is the Spider Drone.
Oh, you almost said the wrong thing.
I almost did, actually. It's the Spider Drone. Basically, it's about 4 or 5 little robots that you can send out that are actually shaped like spiders.
Yeah.
And all they do is just fly around and shoot people, annoy them, take out enemies.
Yeah, and they'll actually be damaging big guys even during the time when you don't have to web them up.
Right. They just sit there while you do your own thing. Mm-hmm. I always like teaming this up with the Spider Bro, the suit power. Basically, you throw out 5 spider drones, and then you shoot out your spider bro, and literally you don't have to do anything.
You just kind of
You
sit
just
there
stand there, and they take out everyone.
your robot army just annihilates everyone. Yeah, that's actually a really fun thing to do. I mean, that's kind of like what we had said before in Soup Powers about like the iron spider legs.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just this thing that's off doing its own thing. It's
fun.
honestly just really fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah, and it is very powerful. Like if you have them all out on the field at the same time, you're pretty set, honestly.
Yeah, like I said, you just have to stand there.
That's pretty funny.
And that's it.
So the fourth one, or should we say the second best, actually, is the web bomb. The web bomb's super fun. It really does actually work as a crowd clearer. Like in a lot of ways, I mean, you just basically throw it out there. It will just web up every enemy within a radius of it. And also the web bomb can be increased in terms of what its radius is, so it hits more guys further out. You can do that a couple of times, which really increases its usefulness over the course of the game. And this is one of those things that works very well with other gadgets.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about this is how you can actually stick it to enemies.
Yeah.
So you throw it out in a crowd, it sticks to an enemy, and then it explodes and sticks to everyone else.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different uses you can do with this, a lot of different other gadgets you can actually team up with this.
Yeah, which we'll definitely get into also in our last one, because our last gadget really works well with this. But the fact that you can even like web bomb a crowd, then you use a web throw to grab the first one in the crowd, pick him up, chuck him at the other ones. You can do that, or you can web bomb them, then chuck a couple trip mines into there, and they're all slamming into each other.
Or web bomb and then throw your spider drone like I always did.
Yes, it always goes back to the spider drone, doesn't it?
Yep.
That's the thing, is like there's such a versatility to these gadgets because they can all be combined together in different ways that actually help them function even better and increase the variety of your combat. So the final one we have, this one is the most OP thing in this game. Sometimes I would actually argue this maybe shouldn't be in here.
Especially when it's combined with the resupply.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. The suspension matrix. This thing is a joke. It is a cheat code you're throwing out there. I mean, you literally just send it out. It will send everybody flying into the air, whether it's big guys, little guys, shield guys. It doesn't matter. Like, they're just floating in the air defenseless for you to run up there and just punch them in the air where they can't do a dang thing about it.
Yeah, and they're sitting up there for like, what, 5 to 10 seconds?
Yeah, it's a long time.
So you can take out literally all of them in that time.
Yeah, or you can just, even if you don't like have time to do that, you can chuck a couple web bombs up there too.
Yeah.
And you can go up, start taking them down. By the time they fall, they're still web bombed. Then you can start hitting them on the ground. This thing is insane. And frankly, it's probably the best in terms of pairing it up with other gadgets. I mean, you suspension matrix into a web bomb, you do what we just said. You suspension matrix You suspension matrix into a spider drone, or 5 or 4 or whatever, and they're just getting shot in the air. You suspension matrix into trip mines, they're getting pulled out of the air into walls, into impact webs. You're shooting them out of the air with the impact web. It's nuts. Like, everything works with this. Everything. You can even concussion blast people out of the air radius once they're up.
And they're completely defenseless.
They can't do a dang thing.
It's pretty OP.
It's insane. And you know, that's the thing, is like, at first I was a little critical of Spider-Man because I do think that the game is fairly easy. Even on Ultimate, I don't personally find it to be that challenging, honestly. I get that it was for some people, it wasn't for me.
It's not like Dark Souls.
No, not at all. But I also really do respect Insomniac for going in so far on the fun aspect of this game. I think that this is a game that is challenging for people who are newer to games, or who maybe haven't played games like this.
But for clear veterans like us...
No, well, for people who've played games for 20 years, maybe it's not. But the thing is, it does have a good difficulty for newer players, and it also does have that fun factor for literally everyone. And part of that is these gadgets.
Yeah, it's really fun. I like that it actually makes you feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah, it really does. It's one of the best games for making you feel like the hero that it put on the box, I think, too.
Yeah.
If Arkham is the game to make you feel like Batman, this is the feel like Spider-Man game. And one thing I'll say in closing is that with all these gadgets just being so fantastic, I really can't wait to see what Insomniac cooks up in the sequel, whatever that might be. And they have a lot of things on board for characters already that we saw throughout the game. Characters that are being established or who maybe have a history with Spider-Man that we haven't seen yet. So there's a lot that they can do and build on top of in the story aspect and in this gadgets aspect. This is one of the games that, even though it has not been officially announced, I am most excited for in the future.
Yeah, and hopefully in the sequel, Safe Space is in it.
Oh yeah,
that'd be fun.
And also
and
Snowflake. That's the other
that'd
one.
Be great.
I definitely hope they're both in it. Awesome. I don't want to kill this game, Nate. Can we not kill Let's not kill the sales of this game before it comes out. So hey, let us know in the comments down below who you'd want to see show up in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. What would you want the name to be? Marvel Spider-Man 2 Electric Boogaloo? Marvel Spider-Man 2 MJ Gone Wild? Let us know what you're thinking in those comments down below. Hey, we have a Discord, Reddit that I don't check often enough, Instagram, Twitter, and a Patreon if you really want to help support the channel. That's a great way to do it. I don't plug the Patreon enough. Please, I'm homeless. Help me. Please help me. Have a great day.